Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Thank you for watching, for liking, for subscribing. Today, I want to look at the game by one of my top students, Mark. He played in a tournament this past weekend. He had a good tournament. He reached a new rating high. He's now rated almost 1600. And this is a game he won as black fairly quickly against someone rated about 1500. So without further ado, let's take a look. The time control was 40 minutes with a couple seconds of delay. I believe 5 second delay. Mark's opponent started with e4. Mark played e6, the French defense, d4, d5, challenging the center, and now white decides to play the exchange variation. So takes, and white plays c4, which is usually a move you want to play in these structures, but not here. Why not here? Well, the reason you don't want to do it here is you will end up with an isolated pawn. The problem is black has no issues at all. Like all his pieces can come out just fine. So the only thing that white gets for this pawn is, well, a little bit control of this square, but it's at the same time, it will become a long-term weakness. So Mark checks. Why does he check? Well, white needs to respond. In the game, white responded by blocking with the bishop. And now Mark took. And the logic behind this trade is, again, most likely, white will end up with this isolated pawn. So the logic is, if your opponent has an isolated pawn, you want to trade pieces. And I will talk about specifics behind this um, a little bit later. But this is why Mark is trying to trade. Okay, Mark develops the knight. If white ever takes, Mark would take with the knight. Because this is a really good knight. You park it in front of this pawn. It cannot get kicked because these pawns don't exist. And at the same time, he controls all these squares. So what did white do? White developed his knight, Mark castled, and now white played a very inaccurate move. He played a very active move. He developed his bishop to d3, but of course, the middle is open. And Mark takes advantage of this right away. Rook e8. The bishop drops back to e2. And yeah, white ends up wasting time. But more importantly, white does not get to castle for a while because Mark plays a very nice move, queen e7, which double attacks his bishop. The bishop is double defended. But if he castles, this bishop becomes free. So white cannot castle for now. In the game, white tries to block this line by playing knight e5. Mark challenges it right away, knight d7, which is computer has a dream of playing knight c6 to bring another piece into the game. Mark's move has an idea of making sure this line reopens. For example, if white plays f4, we might have an option of f6. That's why we move the knight away from the square. White reinforces his knight by playing knight f3. Mark plays f6 as expected. White trades knights. Black takes back. And now the problem for white, he has to untangle from this. He cannot sit in the spin forever. So at some point, he just needs to play king f1. It's uncomfortable, but it has to be played. White plays b3 instead, which, I mean, it reinforces the pawn because the bishop cannot take back, but this is a much bigger problem. And Mark plays bishop g4. One possible idea is simply to take. And notice because of the spin, white cannot take with a bishop. If it takes with a pawn, then the pawn structure is forever damaged, and white cannot castle. So white plays queen d3, and here Mark finds a very, very nice move. I'm going to pause and have you find it. And the move, which I hope you were able to find, is knight c6. And the point is simple. We bring another piece into the attack. This knight cannot move right now because this is triple attacked. He could go home, but home is not very fun either. And the point is, Mark's threat is taking the knight, white takes back, he can take with the pawn of the queen. But if he takes with the queen, we take here. And if he takes with the pawn, we also take here. And the logic is his queen cannot take. His queen cannot take. Because this will be a checkmate. In the game, white played h3, but everything, according to the computer, the best move for white to play is rook d1. But this is still much better for black. But white went, white ignored or didn't see the threat, and now Mark unleashes bishop takes knight. And now knight here, and Mark is winning a full piece on the next move. So his opponent resigned. So a couple of quick things to note. So number one to remember, and again, this is something I will dedicate a separate video to. If your opponent has an isolated pawn, you want to trade pieces, especially knights and bishops. Number two, having a knight in front of an isolated pawn is a really good idea. Number three, remember this idea which Mark used of stopping your opponent from castling. If you're white or black, and you're in the same situation, at some point you need to just play king f1. White did not do that, and that allowed Mark to eventually get all his pieces out and win this game in a very nice fashion. I hope you enjoyed this game. I hope you learned something from this video. Please like, please subscribe, and I will be back soon. Thank you.